ruling by the Supreme Court of Namibia regarding foreign same-sex marriages to be recognized in Namibia has sparked serious and lively debates from all walks of life. Maybe an open discussion about gayism is long overdue, because proponents thereof in the past went about their business fairly quietly, and those in opposition were never really provoked to the point where it became the hot topic that it is today. And whether you are in agreement with gayism, same-sex marriages, or everything that goes with it or not, fact remains that we are living in the same country, and the one thing that we must strive to do is to deal with sensitive issues like this in a respectful manner. Allow me, as the President of the Republican Party of Namibia, to inform the nation about our response to the above mentioned. Firstly, allow me to refer you to the Namibian Constitution with specific reference to Chapter 3 that deals with fundamental human rights and freedoms. Amongst other, the respect of human dignity, equality and freedom from discrimination, privacy, the family, children's rights, culture, and especially Article 21, which deal with fundamental freedoms. Secondly, let me refer you to the Constitution of the Republican Party. That is Article 1, our founding statement, and I quote, "The Republican Party acknowledges God, the Trinity, as a sovereign creator of the universe, who has entrusted to humanity the right and the responsibility to rule over the affairs of the world." Now, in addition to that, Article 3, our program of principles, read as follows, and I quote again, "The Republican Party will strive to mobilize all Namibian citizens, regardless of race, ethnic origin, bound by common democratic values, to exercise their fundamental rights and participation, to guard against any derogation or suspension of the fundamental rights and freedoms as provided for in Chapter 3 of our Constitution, with special reference to personal liberty, respect for human dignity, privacy, children's rights, the right to culture, language, tradition or religion and education, freedom of speech and freedom of the press, freedom of thought, conscience and belief, freedom of religion, freedom of residence, association, movement, and assembly, and to promote and improve human relations and national reconciliation." End of quote. The Republican Party acknowledges the Bible as the sovereign word of God and would continue to encourage all citizens to live so accordingly. And in order for me to be clear about our view on the subject of gayism, same-sex marriages, I would like to state the following. The first and most important commandment from the Word of God is that A, we must love the Lord with all our heart, soul and mind. B, we must love others as much as we love ourselves. This love is not defined by the measure we agree or disagree with one another. We can still love one another even though we do not always agree and think alike. Love puts us on trial. It disarms the plans and strategies of the enemy, and we are most effective when we are pure in heart and love unconditionally. Following that is where God said, "It is not for us to judge. That is a sovereign prerogative of God. Let us refrain from acting like fools who despise wisdom and instruction, simply because we regard same as judgment, and rather encourage one another to operate in the fear of the Lord, which is the foundation of true knowledge and freedoms." Without judgment or condemnation, the Bible is very clear when it comes to homosexuality, amongst other issues. It clearly states that it is not only considered as a sin against God's will, but an abomination in His eyes, a very serious and punishable sin. By God's grace, He gave us a freedom to make our own choices, and simultaneously encourage us to choose wisely, applying godly wisdom and understanding when exercising our freedom of choice, not relying on our own knowledge and understanding. Remember that our freedoms to make choices remain limited in obedience to the Word of God. The Word and the Spirit of the Lord is a standard of purity and holiness. Enjoying freedom on choice also come with accepting the responsibilities and the consequences of those choices. Our choices are yesterday's teacher and tomorrow's opportunity. We must execute our choices wisely. I know many gay people, and I also have friends that are gay. What always strikes me is that the vast majority of them are wonderful, well-behaved, law-abiding, and peace-loving people. And they are easily loved and respected fellow Namibian citizens. Even though gayism is not new to the Namibian society, in principle it remains unacceptable to the various multicultural and ethnic groups in Namibia. Previously, the LGBTQ community conducted and kept their lifestyles fairly private, and therefore the rest of the population was never challenged to publicly express themselves in a manner that would cause them any harm. This all changed with public protests, putting their once private lifestyle in the spotlight and center stage, whilst demanding acceptance of their lifestyles, which, according to the view of the majority of the population of Namibia, is not only unacceptable but unlawful. I fail to understand why the community is making all these demands lately. They are equally a fundamental part of the Namibian society, enjoying all the rights and privileges stipulated in our constitution, amongst others the freedom of association. Let me come to the next issue of same-sex marriages. When God created us, He created us men and women. And the clear instruction was for us to multiply and create a family, obviously meaning to have children. Naturally, it is impossible for two men to conceive or birth a child with one another and vice versa, two women to conceive or birth a child with one another. This is obviously an undisputable fact. A serious issue of concern is the adoption of children by same-sex partners. As a father who has raised 4 children with my wife, I'm absolutely convinced that an adopted child who grow up in a home where he or she has 2 fathers or 2 mothers will become problematic as a child grows older, simply because no one can guarantee that such an adopted child will have the same sexual orientation as their fathers, in brackets, and mothers, as they grow up. This in itself places a target on the back of such adopted children and opens the door for rejection, discrimination, and bullying by fellow children. Then I would like to come to the issue of the critical race theory that has become a hot topic in many countries all over the world. This theory is aimed at providing young children with a choice relating to their preferred gender, whether they want to be a boy or a girl. According to the so-called theory, children at a young age should be allowed to decide whether they want to be a boy or a girl. This issue is driven by the radical left, and as far as I'm concerned, it is nothing but evil. Should any confusion arise about your gender, resolving such confusion is very simple. When you're born with a penis, you're a boy. When you're born with a vagina, you're a girl. God created us either male, boy, or female, girl. And nobody has the right to change that. Nor should anybody, especially a minor, be given the authority to choose or change their gender. The Republican Party will never support that. Supporting these radicals pushing this evil critical race theory is the premature exposure, availability, and distribution of books and resources with explicit sex drawings to the eyes of children as young as pre-primary and primary schools. And I want to urge the government and the school boards to look into this immediately and ensure that such literature be banned from our schools in Namibia and that it does not form part of any curriculum for pre-primary and primary schools. The Word of God urges us to train up our children in a way that they should go, that even when they are old, they will not depart from that. It states that what we allow and feed, figuratively speaking, our children at home and at school. Lastly, and whilst we are on the topic, let me also comment on the extremely important issue of abortion. I want to make it very clear that the Republican Party will fight against any attempt to legalize abortion by demand. We will only support abortion when a mother's life is in danger. Abortion under any other circumstances is nothing but murder. A fetus is alive when conception has taken place. And when it's removed by whatever means, then those involved must accept that they are guilty of committing murder. Remove this issue by the root, not only treating the symptoms, and therefore by means of enforcing and passing laws legalizing abortion, because should we allow this, then citizens are only allowed to continue with a promiscuous and criminal lifestyle. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to come back to what I said in the beginning as far as the LGBTQ community is concerned. We as the Republican Party will always respect and love our fellow Namibians, irrespective of their choices, and we encourage all Namibians to do the same. Please understand that in loving and respecting others as an individual, it under no circumstances mean that we condone or support their choices, actions, and or behavior. But let us not conform to the ways and standards of the world or become a godless nation simply because we allow any form of lawlessness. We are set apart to do and set a good example and lead by example. I thank you.